Bowers.
Yes.
Carey.
Here.
Jarvis.
Here, council chamber.
Moppin-Moore. McLean. McNabb Stang.
Here in Hastings.
Rezegi.
Here in council chamber.
Smith.
Here.
Are you home, sir?
Oh, are we saying where we're at still? Is that still the requirement?
I believe
is it,
if
Your
you're not
Honor?
in council chambers.
Okay. Florida.
Okay. And Tassava.
Here. Entertain a motion to distribute the claim. Motion by Jarvis, supported by Moppin-Moore. All in favor, say aye.
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 The all right, the pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everybody get a chance to look at the agenda? Any additions or corrections? I approve it. Yeah. Make the motion to approve this. Motion by Jarvis, supported by Carey, to approve the agenda. Roll call.
Carey.
Yeah.
Jarvis.
Yeah.
Moppin-Moore. McNabb Stang.
Yes.
Rezegi.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Tassava.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Approval of minutes of the March 22nd, 2021 hybrid regular meeting, March 23rd, 2021 workshop, March 29th, 2021 virtual special meeting, April 6th special meeting. Any questions or anything everybody look at?
David, you're breaking up terribly.
Don't have much control of that, Don.
Yeah, Your Honor, before I make a motion, I did not see the closed session minutes emailed to us. Did I miss that?
Maybe I'll email you, Don. I thought you were not going to be in attendance today, so I apologize.
Okay, can we approve everything without those minutes? Can I make a motion to approve the minutes, but not the virtual special meeting motion, and the special meeting and the hybrid meeting of March 23rd, 2021.
Motion by Smith to approve. Support by Rezegi. Any discussion?
I have something. March 29th, the meeting is number 5, the presentation of potential variation of employee benefits. The motion by Brenda, in it, has recommendations on the next meeting's agenda. And actually, Brenda has said, the next meeting will be April 12th, and that's not, there's no date on this. It was not the next meeting, it's supposed to be April 12th. She said it and the motion.
You want to know who that,
I know who asked for it, but I just say, in the minutes, please reflect.
Anything else?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, what is the correction?
Okay, so on March 29th, in the meeting minutes, under number 5, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, it says to place recommendations on the next meeting's agenda, and the motion was actually supposed to be placed on the meeting's agenda for April 12th. Brenda had said that twice in her motion.
I move to amend my motion for the correction. Smith,
So I'm sorry, you said that you think the motion is wrong?
Yes.
no, something in the minutes.
Minutes for
Teresa-
that motion is
Teresa
incorrect.
wants to correct the minutes. I'm fine with that.
There was no date read into the minutes, read into that motion.
There was,
Yes, there was.
there was.
Brenda reported it twice, repeated it twice.
That's right. Yeah.
Can I pause this for a second? Are people who are online having trouble hearing?
Yes,
Give me just a second here.
and I can't read.
Does that sound better?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Teresa, maybe say yours again. Now we got the mic working better.
Okay. Can you hear me, Jane?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, on number 5 from the March 29th meeting minutes, the motion was put in place to recommend on the next meeting's agenda. And in that motion, Brenda had said, repeated it twice, it was supposed to be April 12th. So I'd like the date of April 12th added. And if I'm not mistaken, I do believe that Don Smith just said that he would change his motion to include that.
I did make that motion. I moved to approve for the correction. I moved to amend the minutes and approve the correction.
So it's as amended?
Okay.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Jarvis,
Yes.
Maupin-Moore,
Yes.
McNabb Stang. I'm sorry, McNabb Stang. I'm sorry, McNabb Stang. You're muted.
Yes, sorry, I had my headset in because I was having trouble hearing you so bad.
Rezegi,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes,
Carey, Tassava.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next item, approval of the closed session minutes of March 22nd, 2021, and April 6th, 2021. Everybody had a chance to look at these tonight. John, it's my fault you didn't get a copy of those closed session minutes because I thought the last time I talked to you, you were gonna be on the airplane.
Right. Yeah, it got changed, but I'm okay. I'll just abstain.
Motion to approve. Motion by Rezegi, supported by Carey to approve the closed session minutes of March 22nd, 2021 and April 6th, 2021. Roll call.
Maupin-Moore. Yes. McNabb Stang,
Yes,
Rezegi,
Yes.
Smith,
Abstain.
Bowers,
yeah,
Carey, Jarvis,
Yes.
Tassava.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Open public discussion regarding matters not on the agenda. Anybody out there would like to address the council, and speak about anything that's not on this agenda? I'll give you 3 minutes. Please identify yourself. Anybody out there?
Proclamations, we have none. Public hearings, none. Formal presentations and requests. Consider additional requests for Julie Fawns, event coordinator for Berry County Relay for Life, for vendors to sell items during Relay for Life, August 7th in Titan Park. Entertain a motion to approve this.
I make a motion that we rescind resolution 2021-04 and adopt resolution 2021-10 under direction of staff.
Or,
Motion by McNabstain, supported by Jarvis. Discussion. Anybody want to talk about this? My only concern is this has always been an event to honor people that died of cancer. My only issue is we don't know how many trucks are going to be down there, how many food trucks. You know, I'd like to see them make money down there, donate back to Relay for Life. But I really don't think there's a lot of detail in this. I think Julie is on the call tonight. If anybody.
Yes. I'm here. Thank you for the time and the consideration this evening. We don't have anything set in stone. This was just an idea that I had, and before I started to publicize it, I wanted to make sure we had all of our T's crossed. As far as food trucks, I don't know. I wouldn't suspect any more than like 2 or 3. But I was looking more for being able to have vendors come in, set up shop, and sell their wares for the day. They would pay the Relay for Life an amount to set up a booth, and then the money that they collect throughout the day would be theirs. I'm really looking for a way to draw people to the downtown, to the parks, and to part of the relay.
And my motion was under direction of staff because I felt they could manage anything related to the COVID restrictions at the time to make sure that we don't overcrowd the area.
I will add that the American Cancer Society has a strict policy as well, and they will be the deciding factor whether we're going to have an in-person event by July 15th, I want to say. So I very well could not have this event at all. It just depends on what's going on, and as it gets closer to August.
Got a question?
Yeah, my question is the parking lot part of Titan Park or not?
It is, but it's not part of the, it's their, what is their
Part of the restriction that's on there?
deed restriction down there.
So they could go into the parking lot and do that.
Right. I really think that, if you're gonna have food trucks down there, you gotta have a peddler's license. I think you need to talk to the chief of police about that. I think this is fine. What's happened all these years down there with the group that have had loved ones pass away, they've had baked goods and they've sold them and donated all the proceeds back to the cancer walk. Now, my question is these food wagons, are they going to donate all their proceeds to the cancer walk? If that's the case, I don't have a problem with it.
We're going to ask them to donate a portion of it, yes.
Another question? Okay, roll call.
McNabstain,
Yes.
Rezegi,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bowers,
yes,
Carey, Jarvis,
Yes.
Moppenmore,
Yes.
Tassava,
No.
motion carried.
Thank you.
Consider airport manager's contract for 2021 through 2024 as recommended by the Hastings City, Berry County Airport. What this is just an extension. The only thing difference in this contract than the last one we had with Mark was that we added 3 years to it. So all that's been changed on dates. Nothing else in this contract changed at all, just the dates. So entertain a motion to approve the contract.
I'll make that motion, Your
Support.
Motion by Reski, supported by Mop and Moore. Discussion.
I have a question, Your Honor.
Good.
How long has the transition been being done to the new airport manager? He's been training somebody for some period of time
Training two
to
different,
transition?
training two different people. One decided they didn't want it. So the one he's been training thinks it's gonna take a little longer, but that's at Mark's expense. The airport's not paying for that. So any training he does or anytime they fill in for him, for Mark, that comes out of Mark's pay.
Well, I guess I just wonder about, how long it's gonna take. He needs another 3-year contract to transition?
Well, I guess we could have done it year by year, but, it doesn't, I don't get it because we're not giving him a raise at all. Nothing's changing. He's just gonna have, and who knows, he might decide next year that, the person's gonna replace him is trained, he's gonna do fine, he might leave. This 3 year just gives us 3 years in the contract. He can decide anytime, he gives 90 days notice that he wants to leave, Like I said, this is
Okay,
we've had for the last 3 years with him, so. Anything else?
nope, that's it, thank you.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Smith,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carrie, Jarvis,
Yes.
Moppenmore,
Yes.
McNabb Stang,
Yes,
Rezegi,
Yes.
Tassava.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item 11, ordinances. Item A, we have the first reading of ordinance number 599, buildings and structures. Like I said, this is the first reading. This will be brought back up in 2 weeks. We have Dave Hatfield with us tonight, if anybody has any questions on the first one here, on buildings and structures. Any questions?
yes, I do. What is the criteria for deciding whether a special or what is it, what is this considered?
It's considered a special land use, and I think that the primary criteria will be whether or not the building is compatible with the neighbors.
So you have, but it's a decision made just whether you like it or not? I mean, there's no, subjective or objective, criteria that you have to take into account on whether to grant a special use?
Well, yeah, this is in addition to the established criteria that's been there all along, which allows buildings up to 40 feet. The sole question that came in front of us was whether or not under certain circumstances, we would allow a building of greater than 40 feet. And the criteria for that, again, is compatibility with the neighborhood. If you've got a full row of 1- and 2-story buildings, or in an extreme 1-story buildings, it's not going to be aesthetically pleasing to have a significantly taller building inserted amongst them. On the other hand, where you've got buildings, such as Waldorf, certainly on that block, we could have a building that's somewhat greater than 40 feet.
I guess I have an inherent problem because I objected to changes made on the Moose property going up to 4 stories and I was told, oh, don't worry about it, no problem, there's a 40 feet limit. And then this comes before us the very next meeting saying, oh, but we're gonna be able to go over 40 feet. So, you know, so that's one reason this rubs me the wrong way, but
Well, I'm
it's a
sorry
matter
if
of
if
what
that,
you use.
I'm sorry if that was communicated in a way that would indicate that there was not an interest in going above 40 feet. We simply knew that we were going to have to make some changes if something in excess of 40 feet is being considered. And I think when you look at that block, particularly given where the Moose property sits, it really is at the basement level for the properties yeah, to the south of it. And I think, you know, particularly Waldorf being 4 stories tall, when you look at it from the rear, this building is going to be looked at from that same vantage point.
Yeah, but when you have a building that's 4 stories, and then you have a building that's 1 story, then you have another building that's 3 or 4 stories, and then you've got another building that's 1 story, I think it looks really bad. And but if you've got buildings next to each other that vary by a story, then that's no big of a deal. So, I mean, there's a whole lot that can go into this as to whether, you know, this, and I just didn't know how much objectivity we can use and say, you know, that you can't have a 4-story building. And, you know, because you meet all the other criteria, we're not going to let you go over the 4-story, the 40 feet, because we just don't like the way it looks.
Well, but actually, you know, that type of subjectivity exists in a number of our ordinances. So what you're really trusting to is the common sense of the people that are on the planning commission.
Mm-hmm.
I have a comment or question, if you're done, Brenda.
Yes, go right ahead. I'm done. Thank you.
Hey, Dave, so anything over 40 feet has to go to the planning commission, and they still have to look at the surrounding areas to see if it makes sense, correct?
Yes, that
And
is
then-
that is the process.
And if it gets special approval and goes through you guys, it will still come to the council, correct?
Special, no, I don't believe that the special use permits do.
So they don't, the special use doesn't. So if the planning commission decides that it fits with the area over 40 feet or higher, whatever that be, and you approve the special use, then it's approved and it doesn't have to come to the council at all. That's typical how it works anyway. So I guess I'm okay with that. So, and this is just the first reading anyway, so thank you.
Mhm.
I'm done.
If else got any questions, and if you think of anything, like I say, 2 weeks since we back up. So if you have any questions you think of, write them down and I can get them today. We can figure it out before we have our next meeting, or
Okay.
wait till the next meeting and you'll be here again.
Yes, I appreciate your thoughts on this, and yeah, if you have anything that you can bring to my attention prior to the next council meeting, that just helps me make sure that we've got answers for you.
Okay, next item B, first reading of ordinance number 600, the keeping of animals in the city. Like I said, this is the first reading. It'll be back up in 2 weeks. Anybody have any questions now? Well, Dave's still on.
Yes, I have on this one as well.
Brenda, Al's got a question first.
Dave's.
Okay, go ahead.
My question is, maybe I didn't catch it. Does the yard have to be fenced in, plus the chickens have to be fenced in, or just the chickens have to be fenced in?
There is no requirement to fence the yard because the requirement is very specific about fencing the coop and the attached run. And yeah, there's a requirement for fencing, and there's also a requirement that limits the combined size of the area that is dedicated to both the coop and the run to 100 square feet.
Okay, and question is a fee for what we're gonna do with the permit? Do we have any idea what that fee is gonna be, or?
Dan is looking into what other communities are doing. Most communities, it falls right in line with their fence permit. It's about the same price as what their fence permit is.
And that's once a year they would pay that, or a one-time fee?
It's a 5-year.
5-year fee, okay. Because that's a couple $100, I think.
What's that?
A couple $100, I'm guessing, for a fence fee, or?
Fence fee is $25.
Oh, that's it? Yeah, okay. The other question is, you know, the thing with code inspector, I know he's busy with chickens already, and I think this could be a flash in the pan, so that's the other thing is I think I can have chickens, and then they're gonna find out their work and they have other issues, so I see a lot of people buy these coops at farm stores, and then they wind up sitting in their yard empty, so that's kind of a different question living in the city for me.
Mr. Mayor.
Brenda's next, Don, just a second. Brenda?
David?
Go ahead, Brenda.
Yes, this issue has come before council previously. What's changed? That now we turned it down once before. Why are we reconsidering this?
I don't know if chickens ever came to council before they came to planning commission.
Yeah, it came to planning commission. And I think what has changed is the continued growth in interest in the keeping of chickens. When we had enough requests that we felt that it merited a rediscussion, and as part of that rediscussion, we did conduct a survey and had sufficient responses favoring it that we thought that it was something that we ought to consider.
What
Okay.
percentage?
And I think the other thing that has changed is that if you continue to look at other communities, particularly in Michigan, a substantial number have now decided to allow the keeping of chickens on a fairly restrictive basis. And we modeled this ordinance after what we saw as best practice in those other communities.
What community was it?
We actually looked at 12 to 15 other communities, including East Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, Lansing, Ann Arbor. I could get you a list, Don. I don't have it in front of me.
I have another question.
So do I.
If I read this, it says animals. That doesn't say chickens.
No, the title of the ordinance is keeping of animals, but the provisions in it require that are being modified are very specific in applying only to chickens.
But they can bring in hogs and horses and cows and all that stuff because
No, Don, they cannot.
What?
They cannot. Those are
That's what
not
it says
permitted.
animals.
No, if you read the introductory sections, we're very specific about the types of animals that can be kept inside the city.
I'll tell you this, I moved into the city from the farm. One of the criteria was so I wouldn't run into all these daggone farm animals. And I just think that's a terrible, terrible situation to open up Pandora's box. We don't have enough, we aren't able to police all out of the ordinances we have. I can go around and show you places and places and places where the ordinances are being violated. That you can't do it with one man half a time, half an hour, I mean, a half a day, a day, and keep up with it. So now we're going to add this to it. And there's no chance for them to be able to do this policing the way it should be done. So you're going to have to add more people if you want to do it right. And I just think it's a farce.
Don, you'll have a chance to vote on this in 2 weeks. So, you know, if you want to bring this back up again in 2 weeks, that's great. Brenda, comment?
That may be, David, but I also can express my feelings.
I understand that, Don, but like I say, this right now is just, this is the first reading, is all this is. Go ahead, Brenda.
Yeah, the other part is something that's missing out of here, I think, is, you know, can a permit be revoked for a violation? You know, what's the process? How long will it take to get a permit revoked? And how are you going to ensure? And then what happens to somebody who starts keeping chickens without a permit? Are they going to be then prohibited from getting a permit? Are they going to be just slapped on the hand and said, oh, too bad, we'll give you one anyway? Are we going to, you know, are they going to be fined for it? Are they going to, you know, what's going to happen? There's nothing to talk about what
ordinance.
What happens?
Violate the ordinance, there's a fee, there's a fine. But like I said,
A fine or how much?
this is the first reading. Are these questions you want Dave to answer by the next meeting?
Well, yeah, that's fine. I just wondered why it isn't in the ordinance.
Brenda, this is Jerry. If you go to the very end of what's added in the bold, the very last paragraph, it does state in there, if the above requirements are not complied with, the city may revoke any permit granted under this section and or initiate prosecution for a civil infraction violation.
And how long does it take for us to go through that process? Quite a while. So somebody can be in violation and, you know, and for God knows how long, and bother their neighbors, you know, be, you know, create a nuisance, and our hands are tied because of this process.
Teresa, you got a question?
And then what do we get? Do we don't get a fine? The people don't get, you know,
I think
and they can. I think there's a lot of problems here.
Teresa's got a question. Go ahead, Teresa.
I actually have 2 questions. Dave, why did we not consider adding ducks to this as well? Or was it talked about and we decided not to add ducks?
Well, it was talked about, but I mean, you can, yeah. The interest that has been expressed to us has predominantly been for chickens. We have not had an interest expressed in ducks, nor potbelly pigs or miniature goats, or so many of those other things. And we had quite a bit of discussion about are we opening the door to those other types of animals? And
well, personally,
our discussion was very clear that we're not interested in expanding this beyond chickens. And I mean, never say never. Who knows what the future may bring, but I think that it's highly unlikely that there would be support for adding other types of animals beyond the chickens.
okay, so one, add meat ducks that falls underneath when you guys were talking about that chickens can be used for eggs and meat. So if you were to add meat ducks, it would fall right into that. The other thing is, a lot of times, city kids don't get to show animals at fair, and this is one of the things that they could do is be able to show chickens and ducks, and meat ducks especially. So I think we should really consider that and give those kiddos the option to be able to raise those things and take them to the fair. So I would really like that to be considered.
Well, I think yeah, I'll certainly take that back. But I think that it was discussed at some length. And as I say, at this point, I don't think there was any interest in expanding it beyond chickens. You know, you get into a whole host of other issues as you broaden that out to other types of animals. And I think our underlying sentiment actually is no different than what Don expressed. You know, if you want an unlimited ability to raise animals, go to the country.
Yeah, but I have one question for you. And that is, we turned it down once, and now you brought it back, and out of 7,000 city people, how many voted for it?
I'm sorry, Don, I'll have that number for you, when we bring this back up. I don't know offhand.
Jim's got a question, and then we're gonna move on. Go ahead, Jim.
I know up at the high school, they're putting up an agricultural building. Will they be able to have animals up there?
You got to talk to the microphone over there. Up here, where he's at. These are all there.
Hey, Dave,
Yes,
the high school is putting up an agricultural building right now. And they've got various animals they're gonna put in there. Is this something that they can go ahead and do without having your approval?
I wasn't aware of that, and I don't know the answer to that.
Anyhow,
Your
this
Honor?
is the first reading, so we're gonna move on. I think we've pretty much asked all the questions. If you have any questions, get a hold of
Okay.
Dave, get a hold of me, and we'll get it resolved before the next meeting. You still have.
Okay.
Got 2 weeks, month with any questions. I think we could be on this thing all night. I think we have other business to get done, so.
Sounds good.
Thanks for coming in tonight, Dave.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Both these be brought up in 2 weeks. Next item. Consider adoption. We have 3 resolutions here, and they all have to do with the downtown, jeez, can't think of the word.
So,
Social district permits. We have 3 applications here. We can approve each application individually, or if you'd like, we can take all 3 of them and approve them. So do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that we approve all 3 at one time.
That's our support.
Motion by Carey, supported by Rezegi. Let me read them. Consider adoption of resolution 2021-11, local government unit approval for social district permit for Klusterman Sports Tap and Grill. Item 2, consider adoption of resolution 2021-12, local governmental unit approval for the social district permit for Seasonal Grill LLC. Item C, consider adoption of resolution 2021-13, local government unit approval for social district permit for Waldorf Brew Pub. I have a motion and support. Do I have discussion? Don, get your hand up. Smith?
oh, I'm taking it down. That was from the last thing. I'm good. I'm good.
Any question or comments? Roll call.
Bowers,
No.
Carey, Jarvis,
Yes.
Moppenmore. Moppenmore,
Yes.
McNabb-Stang,
Yes,
Rezegi,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes,
Tassava.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item 13, appointments. I don't know if everybody got a chance to read the packet tonight, but I have a project proposal for issue management services, and I have a contract here. And I'd like to introduce you to Greg Goodshow. Did I heard of that, Greg?
Yes, you got that exactly right. Thank you.
Greg is a PhD. He's applying for interim city manager. So we need to approve his agreement and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign it. So
Do you need a motion, Your Honor?
Yes, I need a motion.
Smith moves to approve the agreement.
Supported by
McNabb saying support.
the second.
McNabb saying second.
Did you say you seconded, Brenda? Support? by-
Yes.
Supported by McNabstain. Okay, any questions, comments? Anybody? want to-
I have one. I have a question, Your Honor. In part of the proposal, it talked about three things that were discussed, key things that were discussed during a meeting on a certain date. And then those things were going to come back to us in detail of duties and responsibilities. Is that projected for the next couple weeks or month? Or can you give me some insight on that, please?
Can you repeat what you said, Don? I can hardly hear
Oh.
you.
Okay, it's too bad you can. So, in the proposal, there was something about, the duties and responsibilities that was discussed on the meeting during the interview. And that was going to come back to us at a later time in more detail. Can you give us some insight on that?
You have an answer for that, Greg? I don't know what he's talking about.
It says it right in the letter. It says the proposal will confirm aspects of these services that we discussed on March 24th and provide additional information about the nature of these services to be provided. This document should prove useful in guiding our discussion on April 1st.
Let me, if I may, Your Honor, jump in and perhaps try to provide a little additional detail concerning that. The reference, which was just described, was as a part of a transmittal email when I was sending the written proposal document with the idea that the conversation then on the 24th would help to fill in some of the gaps in that. Obviously, when you're looking at the duties of city manager, as you all appreciate, the charter only goes so far in terms of describing it in any kind of detail. What I did on the with the meeting that I had with the mayor and Mr. Zarnecki and Ms. Sauerman on the 24th was to provide a little bit of additional insight as to not so much the duties, but how I carry those responsibilities out. So the obligation as an interim manager is to provide perform the task of city manager as outlined in the charter. And in addition, any other duties and responsibilities that are legitimate for the council to direct me perform during that interim period of time. As those of you who've been involved in city government know, and certainly Mr. Zarnecki knows, you really don't know what's going to walk through the door on any given day. And the city manager has responsibility for making sure that those things are being taken care of. And so it's a little hard to describe in precise detail as to what's going on. What I indicated during that meeting and what I'm happy to share with you tonight is the approach that I take. And basically what I'm interested in doing and what I've done in the two previous interim manager positions that I've held is to go in with the goal of having a very smooth transition between permanent managers. So what I'm interested in doing and what you should be interested in having me do is to make sure that from standpoint of city government operations, we don't really miss a beat. As far as the public is concerned, as far as the business community is concerned, as far as city staff is concerned, they really should see that this is a smooth transition period, that there is stability that they can have confidence in. And my approach to that is to try and make sure that I am kind of stepping into Mr. Zarnecki's shoes. Obviously, there might be some slight differences in our management style, but my approach is to minimize those differences so as to not create a disruption in the organization. You're already going to have some transition that occurs and changes that will occur when a new manager is hired and he or she comes on the job. The staff doesn't need to go through, and staff and council and the public, they don't need to go through that twice in a fairly short period of time. So my goal right from the outset is to make sure that there is a minimum of disruption, that there is a significant effort in terms of providing as great an amount of continuity that for a smooth transition to take place. And I do that by beginning with the assumption that you have a competent staff of department heads and employees who know their jobs. They're the subject matter experts. I am not a micromanager. I am not going to come in and tell them how to do their jobs. If I identify some deficiencies that are significant, obviously those are things that will need to be taken care of. I don't expect that to be the case, and certainly was not the case with anything that occurred during the interim period that I fulfilled in Ionia that concluded just a little over a month ago. So that I think contributes to that stability. The other thing that I'm there for, and it's the same role that every city manager performs, is to make sure that those unusual items that don't come up very often are handled very smoothly. Let me give you an example, two examples, one from my first day in Ionia and one from my last day in Ionia. The first day in Ionia, I don't think I'd been in the office an hour, and I had a contact from the public safety director saying, we have a personnel issue. It was serious, it needed immediate attention. And was resolved within that week, but it was a very significant and serious issue. That's the kind of thing that should cross the city manager's desk. And it's the second item that I would point to that occurred on my last day in the office. We had been approached by an international firm that was looking to expand its Michigan operations. They needed to have a meeting with city staff along with representatives from MEDC. That's something that obviously is going to be front and center for any city manager to take care of that. And of course, in the 2.5 or 3 months that fell in between those two incidents, there were a number of things that needed my attention that not quite to that level of concern, but there were just the routine kinds of things that crossed the city manager's desk, some of which involved advising department heads as to unusual items that they were facing and making sure that other projects were being kept on track. What I do is to accomplish that is to come in, meet with department heads individually and as a group at the very beginning of the assignment to make sure that I understand what's going on in their operations. Every city is operated a little bit differently. The organization differs from place to place. I need to become very familiar with what's going on. And what I do is to look out not just to the 2 or 3 months that I might be working in Hastings, but also what's coming up in the next 6 months that we need to be setting the stage for. What's coming up in the next year and a half, 2 years? Are there things that we need to be initiating during my time working there to make sure that all of that is being planned for and all the correct steps are being taken to handle those items? The final thing that I do and that I did in Ionia and did when I was leaving my most recent position as manager in Charlotte was to prepare documents for the incoming city manager that detail any of the items that I had been working on that the new city manager is going to need to have background on so that he or she is prepared to, again, step into that role and be fully informed. I think I prepared probably on the order of 20 or 25 brief memoranda for the incoming city manager in Ionia that detailed out all of the things that I was doing. And so that, council member, that's really kind of it in a nutshell as to the
Thank you.
sorts of things that we talked about with staff, and give you a little, I hope that gives you a little better perspective as to the approach that I would be taking to this task. And the one thing that I didn't mention is that regrettably, because of the number of things that crossed my desk when I was in Ionia early on, I did not have an opportunity to meet individually with council members until late in my tenure there. That's something I intend to correct this time out, to make sure that I'm meeting individually with council members to get to know each of you and to find out what are the issues out there that you're interested in having me take on. One of the things that I found in Ionia was they were a little bit apologetic for bringing to me a nuisance complaint or something that was minor. My attitude is no, I want to know about those things. The more of those things that I can handle during my tenure there to resolve a citizen complaint or resolve a problem, the better off the incoming city manager is going to be, so that he or she can take his or her time to get to know the community, get to know the staff, get to know the department heads without inheriting problems that I could just as easily have handled. So I'm happy to answer any other questions that you might have about how I would approach that or anything specific you have in mind, but that's kind of it in general.
Thank you.
Anybody else got a question for Greg? Jim Carey, go ahead.
Greg, this is Jim Carey. Greg, this is Jim Carey. If we're kind of been told that maybe we might have another permanent manager here, city manager in July. If that runs over, let's say even into October, are you capable of sticking around for a while?
That's a discussion that I had with the mayor when we met, when I met with him to talk about this. And what I assured him is that Hastings is my first obligation. I only have one other small contract that I'm working on at present, and I have only one other proposal that's out, and I don't know whether, and that would be another small contract that I could easily handle while I'm also doing this job. But I assured him that I would not be taking on any other significant work that would interfere with my ability to continue on in this role until you found a suitable manager. Now, what I did tell him was, don't use that as an excuse to keep me on forever and a day, because eventually we'll have to have a conversation about bringing that to a close. But what I did tell him is, and I'm happy to share this with the rest of you as council members, when you go through the hiring process, the Michigan Municipal League is very, very good at what they do, but it's entirely possible that they present to you a group of candidates and you don't find a candidate that you think is a good fit for Hastings. That's entirely possible. And so you send them back to the drawing board and saying, we want to look at some more people. I think that you need to have the confidence that you can do that, that you can take that additional time if that's what it takes to get to you to the point where you have a city manager that you are confident is the person that is right for Hastings and that you want to have in that position that you want to work with. And so, yes, my answer to you is I can certainly stay on beyond July. If we're still having this conversation, next April, we might have to look at this again. And I certainly wouldn't expect that to be the case. But I am not going to be taking on any other significant additional work that would impair my ability to fulfill that interim role right up to the time when the new city manager walks in the door.
Okay, great, thank you. I like your style of communication. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion to support to authorize the mayor and clerk to sign a contract with Greg Goodshow. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Carey,
Yes.
Jarvis,
Yes.
Moppenmore,
Yes.
McNabb Stang, McNabb Stang,
Sorry, I muted myself again. Yes.
Rezegi,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
and Tassava.
Yes,
Motion carried.
looking forward to it, Greg. Thanks. for
Thank you,
coming
Your
on.
Honor. and thanks to all of council. I appreciate your confidence.
Thank you. Okay, item 14, bid contracts, agreements and sales. Consider amendment to the wastewater services agreement and authorize mayor and clerk to sign. This is a wastewater agreement with Rutland Township. This was proposed before we agreed to it. Then they decided that really all they really wanted to do was just extend the existing contract 30 years. So do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion, Your Honor.
Motion by Jarvis. Second. Supported by Carrie. Discussion? Any questions? from anybody?
How,
Any questions from anybody?
so there's no change in the rate. And if we extend out the urban services area, it still gets replaced under the same process.
Right.
You know, they get incorporated into the city and get terminated from this agreement in the same manner as they had in the past.
Exactly it. Like I say, all they're doing.
Okay.
Is extend it 30 more years, and all the agreements we've had in the past don't stay the same. So, and they're gonna bring this up, I think Jerry said on Wednesday at Township vote on it.
The next township meeting.
Their next township meeting. Any other
Yeah,
questions?
my friend-
I can't hear you, David. I don't know why, but you break up so badly. And I don't know what this amendment's about. Is it something that has to be done beyond what we've agreed to?
Nope. All we're gonna do is extend it 30 years, Don. You hear me now?
Yeah,
Okay. All this does is extends the agreement, the existing 1992 agreement, 30 more years. That's all it does.
thank you.
Okay. This is a good thing about having Zoom meetings, these hybrid meetings. If we're sitting here, we can hear each other. But, so just let me know if you can't hear me. I'll just speak up a little bit. So, any other discussion on this item? Motion was made to approve the wastewater service agreement and authorize mayor and clerk to sign. Roll call.
Jarvis,
Yes.
Moppenmore,
Yes.
McNabb Stang,
Yes,
Rezegi,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes,
Carrie,
Yes.
Tassava.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item D, consider revised hybrid and defined benefits agreements for leaves of absence and authorize city clerk to sign. Want to explain this, Jerry?
Yeah, this is just to take a couple of the areas of leave and make it so that employees will gain credit towards retirement. I just noticed going through the packet that the first one on the hybrid, the dots didn't come through on what was selected. So they're identical. So if you scroll through to the defined benefits one, which is page 3 of the second agreement, it gives which ones that they earn service credit for. So it's for short-term disability in case, you know, that comes in. When that happens, they'll get the credit for it. Workman's comp, that's just to verify. That did not get checked on our last one. And then the other one is for administrative leaves. If somebody's on administrative leave, that they would still earn their MERS credit. And MERS credit is 80 hours working in a month. So if somebody works 80 hours here and then goes on to one of these, it doesn't give them additional. But if for some reason one of these leaves go long enough that they don't have 80 hours of physical work time or PTO time that they use, it still allows them to gain their MERS credit.
Entertain a motion to approve.
Rezegi, I'll make that motion.
Motion by Rezegi, supported by Carrie. Discussion?
I noticed that it says January of 2021.
Yeah, because what happened is the workers' comp part switched in MERS on January 1. So we have to go back so that it'll catch that up.
Okay.
What happened is the IRS changed MERS requirements on January 1.
Okay.
That's why it goes back.
And this is not to change anything that we've been talking about. This is just for MERS, for their
Yeah,
time to be
so-
counted towards their.
Yeah, so if any of
Retirement.
these, any of these things here, if there's anything that's on here that's not in place right now,
Right.
it does, nothing happens till it goes in
Into
place.
what was-
This is just because we already had to go in and change things for the workers' comp. This is kind of just making sure this is in place,
Right.
so if other things fall into place, this is
You're ready to
already
go.
taken care of, yeah.
Okay.
So it doesn't, this doesn't circumvent anything. If we don't have any of these things, then nobody gets credit,
So it's just a catch-all in case.
in case.
Any other questions? Motion was made to, motion was made to approve the hybrid and defined benefits agreements for leaves of absence and authorize clerk to sign. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mop Moore,
Yes.
McNabb Stang,
Yes.
Rezegi,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carey, Jarvis,
Yes.
Tassava,
Yes.
motion carried.
Item C, consider uniform video service local franchise agreement between City of Hastings and WOW Internet Cable Phone and authorized clerk, city clerk to sign. Entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion, Ron.
Second.
Motion by Jarvis, supported by Carey. Discussion? Anybody have any questions about this agreement?
Already checked it.
There's not, no, it's 4% that's in there is what it currently was. The only difference is the original one that the city had was for 15 years. This one's gonna be for 10 years, and then we need to look at it.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I thought we were gonna have it, something with wow. Some representative through 136 months a year, something.
I think COVID kind of took that over.
And, it was even before that. Yeah, it was real quick, yeah. But their service is improved from what we expect, so. Not on my house.
Well, we can invite them in for even a virtual, they can come on, maybe get on our hybrid video conference, maybe we can invite them in. If you have any questions, we can have them come in, see what they're up to. Okay, any other questions, comments? Roll call.
McNabb Stang,
Yes.
Rezegi,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carey, Jarvis,
Yes.
Mop Moore,
Yes.
Tassava,
Yes.
motion carried.
Item D, consider Fourth Amendment to real estate sales agreement for 128 North Michigan Avenue. Entertain a motion to approve. Carrie makes the motion. Motion by-
Smith support?
Supported by Smith.
Yes.
Discussion. Anybody have any questions on this?
I do.
Go ahead.
Yeah, once again, this is the project that keeps changing, but is this gonna be the last extension? I mean, it's only through May 31st,
Yeah, this is
so it's a
extending,
little over a month from now.
this is extending the previous one for 2 more months, again, because of what they're running into at the state level, and getting response back from them. So this, every date that's on here is 2 months later than what you did on the third amendment.
So you're expecting to do this again and again and again?
We're expecting,
When are they supposed to get a response?
we're in the process of working with the state right now, so they are hoping that it'll be done during this time, so this was their request. The hope to be this is the last one.
Because weren't they denied the last time? And they had to refile?
Nope, that's not this one.
Okay, that was a different one, okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? We plan on starting after this gets approved sometime in summer.
Yeah, they got a couple things that they're waiting on, as far as finalizing from the state that their hopes were the spring. So to start digging around, I don't know if you've noticed, they've got some borings and some sampling that's going on over there. So the project is moving forward, just not very fast, but again, it's not the developers who are slowing the process now. I mean, and if it was the developers, I think it would be a different discussion that we would have.
Hey, any other comments? Roll call.
Rezegi,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes,
Carrie, Jarvis,
Yeah.
Moppenmore,
Yes.
McNabstang,
Yes.
Tassava.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item E, consider Brian Newhoff proposal for design engineering for the elevated storage tank improvements for $12,200 as recommended by Director of Public Services Tate.
what's it used for, David?
Second, Don, I got a motion here to approve the expenditure.
Support by Smith.
Support. Motion by Carey, supported by Smith. What's your question, Don?
It doesn't tell me what storage for what, where,
Water tower,
where?
storage tank, it's a water tower. Travis, you on here? Can you explain to Don what the plan is?
Yeah. It's just some, it's not a huge job. It's only estimated to be about $300,000. It's just touching up some of the paint and some other minor things for both the north and south water tower.
$300,000 for touching up some paint?
Well, it takes a specialized contractors to do all this work. I can get you a more detailed cost estimate if you wish. I didn't think I needed one, but I think I do now. Okay.
Well, I think Travis is it's a bigger deal than what he's thinking it is. They normally get inside that and they reseal the inside of the tank and everything. They go in there.
Oh, okay.
Check the tank out to see if it needs to be ground down and recoated. That's part of what they process like that.
That makes a lot more sense if they got to get inside it.
Now, they usually do. I don't know if Vern's been involved in this in the past. I think he has been. We can have Travis talk to Vern and maybe get back with us. But I'm pretty sure they got to get inside it. And, they go in there and they clean it. And they usually sandblast the outside and repaint the whole thing.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I have just a general cost estimate just for the north. Exterior overcoat would be $70,000. Cathodic protection system is $25,000. Roof painters, railing, braces, $1,000. Riser manway, $8,000. Wet interior roof hatch, $3,000. Wet interior ladder, $10,000. Roof platform and sidewalk ladder, $10,000. So it's roughly $127,000 plus contingencies and engineering, and that's up to $150,000 for just the north. And it's pretty similar to for the south. But I can give you the reports for both towers. I can email them to you.
Okay.
Any questions? No, we don't do it very often. Maybe Travis, you do it Vern, do that. This was budgeted, so.
Yeah, it was budgeted for this year, but we might have to extend the budget for next year. It's because we're running out of time, so.
When are they scheduled to do this?
Well, we have to approve this so we can get it out to bid. We have to get bid documents created. And that's what this proposal for Prine and Newhoff is.
Okay, any other questions?
Are we fixing the old tank or are we're going to put in a new one?
Yeah, we're fixing both of our tanks, the north and the south water towers.
Every time we do something with one of those tanks, do we gotta have it go to a design engineering firm?
It takes some engineering, yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion and support to consider Brian Newhoff proposal for design engineering for the elevated storage tank. Improvement, $12,200 is recommended by Director of Public Service Tate. There's no further discussion. Roll call.
Smith,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carey,
Yes.
Jarvis,
Yes.
Moppenmore,
Yes.
McNabb Stang,
Yes.
Rezegi,
Yes.
and Tassava.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we know, Travis's report is in there, and Travis is on the line here. So, Travis, I don't know, do you have any highlights from your report that you'd like to share?
The big one is there's a couple big ones. That's the wastewater treatment plant. We're gonna have another change order that's good size, and I detailed on how big it is. We're still within our planned contingency. This would be up to 79% of our contingency used for construction, and we're about at 80% work complete. So it's still on track. And then the other one is the lead line investigation. We applied for a grant in January. And I think I've been informed that, you know, it's pretty likely that we will be awarded that grant to help us fund for our lead line investigation, which we already have in our budget. So that will help substantially.
It's great.
Like, Jim?
Travis, this is Jim Carey. They're starting to use Sweezies a little bit more, and that one area we went down and looked was just north of that lower pond. Is there, it's gotten kind of wet. Is there a way that they could, you said you might bring in some gravel in that area?
Yeah, I think we were talking about that in we met out in January, I want to say, or December.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah. Yep, that, I think, yeah, that's gonna be upcoming. I'll come up with a plan that we can widen that trail area around there. Just to make it, you know, for some more people can travel through there.
All right, any other questions for Travis? Thank you, Travis. In your packet also is a report from Chief Karras. Roger, you got anything that you want to add on top of your report there? Guess already is on. Does anybody have any questions for Roger? Roger, you're muted if you're trying to talk right now.
Shit.
All right, if you have any questions for Roger, we can pass them on. We'll get them to him. Thanks, Roger, for your report. Also in your packet is a report from Peggy Library Director, her monthly report. Peggy, do you have any highlights you wanted to share from your report?
Just that even though we're not at full hours yet, and in it, I will say we, in my report, I said that we would be opening to our regular full hours in May, and that has changed with the rise in cases in COVID, particularly in the county. We have decided to remain at the hours we are currently open. We don't have at this point, any intention of closing or going back to just the drive-through service. We plan to keep our doors open, but we will not be going back to our regular hours, our expanded hours in May. But we are continuing to partner with a number of other organizations for programming, and we are getting people in the door, and people are happy to be in the building. So I'd like to answer any questions if you have any.
Does anybody have any questions for Peggy? Peggy, thank you very much for your report.
Sure.
Last thing, Mr. Mayor, is I'd like the council to consider setting a budget workshop for next Monday at 6 p.m. This will be a hybrid meeting, set up similar to this. Will you make that motion?
Motion by Carrie to set up a hybrid meeting next Monday night at 6 o'clock. Do I hear support? Support by Oppenheimer. Roll call.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carey, Jarvis,
Yes.
Moppenmore,
Yes.
McNabb Stang,
Yes.
Rezegi,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
and Tassava.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Remind people real quick that the compost sites on State Road, starting today, is open. Mondays from 3 to 6 p.m., Saturdays 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And the DPS crew is starting to go around and do their spring cleanup. So we appreciate that support that the council is doing that. That is my report.
Thank you, Jeremy. Item 16, items without individual discussion. As always, let me read through them. Come back to it. If there's anything you want to ask about, I'll allow it. Item A, invoices, none. Item B, draft minutes Downtown Development Authority, March 18th, 2021 meeting. Item C, draft minutes of Hastings City, Berry County Airport Commission, March 24th, 2021. Item D, event calendar for April 2021. Item E, draft minutes, LDFA, March 25th, 2021 meeting. Item F, draft minutes of the Hastings Public Library Board of Trustees, April 5th, 2021 meeting. Item G, draft minutes of Planning Commission, April 5th, 2021. And item H, Berry County Central Dispatch statistics for March 2021. Any of those, anybody want to pull any of those? If not, entertain a motion to accept and place on file.
Rosalie, I'll make that motion.
Support.
Supported by Moppenmore to accept consent item 16A through H, place on file. Roll call.
Jarvis,
Yes.
Moppenmore,
Yes.
McNabb Stang,
Yes.
Rezegi,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carey, and Tassava.
Yes.
Motion carried.
City Attorney's report.
Good evening. There's nothing else to report to the council that's been on the agenda.
Legislative Director's report. Anything?
Nothing for council this evening.
Thank you, Brenda. Open public discussion from the floor. Anybody out there want to address council? Give us your name and give us 3 minutes.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, this is Mike Snyder. I just want to make a brief statement about the legislation. regarding the chickens. I, as a property owner, kind of disagree with raising chickens in the city of Hastings in a residential area. I think for one, it's going to devaluate the property itself and the neighborhood. And secondly, if I was going to buy a new home or buy a home and went to look at the home and there was chicken next door, I think I have, second, I wouldn't be looking at it a second time. Chickens are farm animals, but I think they should be stayed in the rural areas. If you want to raise farm animals, you can always go out where you can have them or get in where it's going to have them. I know when I was on a farm as a kid, we raised chickens, and I tell you, there's an awful odor, ammonia odor that comes off of a chicken waste, and I'm afraid that's what happened in the city. So that's all I have to say on the matter. So we thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Anybody else want to address the council? Mayor, council comments. Anybody on the council have a comment tonight? Go ahead, Jim.
This city's pretty cool.
Talk to the guy out there.
Oh, this city's pretty cool. But, it took planning. But when you leave town, head up towards McDonald's, or when you come back, and a lot of times I leave town, they have work. They got all these trees, and it's only a certain time of year that these flowers come up. That has got to be the prettiest thing. I just love it.
Any other council members tonight? If not, entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Reski, supported by Jarvis. We adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. Good night.